All right. It is my pleasure to introduce my favorite person in the world, Amanda Metskas, who, amongst many other titles, is married to me. She is the executive director of Camp Quest, a role that she has held since 2008. Before that, she volunteered with Camp Quest back to 2003, and she became Camp Quest's first paid staff member when she wrote a grant to become Camp Quest's first paid staff member. And since that time, back in 2007, Camp Quest had, I think, 160 campers, and last summer had over 1,000, and I think it will have even more than that this summer. Amanda, in addition to being the executive director of Camp Quest, is also on the board of directors of the Secular Coalition for America, and is the co-author of a really nifty parenting book called Raising Freethinkers, which you should all definitely check out. And she lives with me and our two cats, Shiva and Vishnu. Please join me in welcoming Amanda Metskas.
You all get to watch me drop the mic unintentionally. All right, welcome everybody. Oh, we've got Adam Lee, that's awesome. Okay, so just so I can make Jessica work more, I've decided to walk and talk. So as August said, I'm Amanda Metskas. I am the executive director of Camp Quest. I want to thank you all for being here. I know it's the last or second to last time slot of the conference, and your brains are probably all pretty full of all the amazing things you have already learned this weekend. One thing I really appreciate about you being here is that this is a new talk, and I really would appreciate feedback on it. Sharing ideas at things like this is how our ideas get better, and it's one of the great things about all coming together in person. So when we have the Q&A or even afterwards, come find me. I would love to, get a sense from you of what could work better as I give this talk in the future. And I have been listening to a lot of TED Talks lately, so I hope I'm prepared for the format. One of the things I've learned listening to all these TED Talks is that you should start with why. And people connect with that. They connect with why, they connect with stories, they connect with other people. Why are these gentlemen pouring water on August Elias Brunsman IV? Well, it's just a good idea. It's something you should do. So when I think about why I'm involved with Camp Quest and why I'm involved with the secular movement, the answer came to me very quickly. And that answer is that I am passionate about having a place where secular people can belong, can grow, and can have fun together. And, making that happen, that is what gets me out of bed in the morning. And it's something that I want you guys to get out of the secular movement as well. I want this to be a place not just where you go and you help other people make their lives better, but I want this to be a place that makes your life better, because you have people to connect with who push you to do better, to learn things, to try things you haven't thought you could do before, and that you can hang out with those people and have a good time. So I want to share a couple of stories from Camp Quest that kind of illustrate why I'm passionate about those things, and hopefully give you some ideas to take back to the secular activism that you do, and help you kind of connect with your own why and do a kind of activism that nourishes and rejuvenates you instead of burning you out. So one of the things that I've noticed here this weekend is that we talk about work a lot. We talk about all the work there is to do, how much work activism is, how we have to put our values to work. It's work, work, work all the time. And that can be exhausting, I think we've all been there where, oh, we need another volunteer to come do this, or this event's not going to come together. We lost our treasurer, and now what are we going to do? And those kinds of things lead to burnout, and they lead to people not doing this anymore. And you can't get rid of all of that stuff. You're going to be stuck doing some of it, but you need to be having some fun at the same time. This has to be about more than selflessness. Selflessness is great. Making the world a better place is great, but it can get exhausting and wear you down. So my question here is, what about play? How can we put our values not just to work, but also experience our secular values at play in our lives? And how can our secular activism be not just something that we do for other people, but also something that we do for us, that makes our lives better as activists? You know, I want to see living our values, I wanted to see it to be something that's fun, that's rejuvenating, that gives you satisfaction, that helps you grow as a person. And I want it to be something that makes you happy. I don't want putting your values into practice in your life to be something that you should do. Oh God, I've got to go out and put my values into practice again. You know, I want it to be something that you are fired up and inspired to do because it makes you happy and you enjoy it and you feel better at the end of the day because you've gone out and done that. Okay, so you might be thinking, all right, you know, that's nice, Amanda. Someone still has to, you know, file the 990 and someone still has to make sure there's money in the bank account and all of this stuff still has to get done. And you're right, all of that stuff still has to get done. But it can't be all that we're doing. That work has to happen, but if we're only doing that work part, we're missing out on a really important thing that we should be getting out of this ourselves. And we're also, you know, what I've noticed is that when we're doing this right, when I'm at Camp Quest and things are firing on all cylinders and they're going right, what's happening is we're making an amazing experience for the campers. We're building a place where they can belong and grow and have fun, but we're also, in building that place for them, we're building that place for us. I knew this talk was going to make me cry. It's going to happen. All right. So yeah, when I talk about things I'm passionate about, I cry. Okay, that's the thing you now know about me. So yeah, I want to kind of break that down into some more specific pieces, you know, because this all sounds very nice, but it's all pretty abstract at this point. So belonging, you know, we have tons of stories from camp about kids who, you know, we have a parent, I remember from the early years of Camp Quest, and she called us and she said, my kids came home from school crying and wondering why we are the only family that doesn't go to church. You know, and those kids found a place to belong. I'm making the audience cry too, so it's okay. So, you know, they found a place to belong as campers, and then they came back as counselors. They came back as volunteers. All right, give me a second here. And so this is a place that kids belong, and that's a very powerful story, and it's a very powerful experience. It's also a place where people who come to Camp Quest as adults find a place that they belong. Our current board chair, Sean Jeffers, is an Eagle Scout, and he left the Boy Scouts of America because he's gay and he's an atheist. And as an adult leader working at a summer camp, he couldn't be who he was. And when he came out and told people who he was, he didn't have a place in that organization anymore. Camp Quest is a place that he belongs. And we have tons of stories like that. So, you know, for me, building that place where people can be accepted, where they can be who they are without being afraid, that's meeting a really deep human need that people have. And it's meeting a very deep human need for a lot of our counselors, for a lot of our volunteers, as well as for our campers. So it's not just for the kids. And the thing that's cool about that is that once you feel safe somewhere, once you feel like you belong, then you can grow. You can push yourself to do things that you didn't think were possible before. And so that's something we see at camp all the time as well. And we see it in, you know, really literal ways, like a camper climbing the climbing wall who was terrified to get on the climbing wall. You know, and they go up and they touch the climbing wall and they're like, oh, I don't know if I want to do this. And then a few minutes later, they're at the top of the climbing wall. And that's awesome. We see it in less literal ways too. We see campers who show up to camp homesick and are just like, I don't know if I can make it through this week away from home. This is a big deal. And at the end of the week, they don't want to go home. They love their home, but they had so much fun at camp that it's become a second home for them. It's also something you see happening with our volunteers as well. So again, it's not just the kids that are having these challenge by choice, these growing experiences at camp. It's, the cabin counselor who comes to camp and has never worked with kids before, doesn't know if that's something that's in his skill set, and discovers that this is something he loves. It's the camp director who had no idea that kind of leadership was something that she was capable of, because she spent the last 10 years as a stay-at-home mom not having a chance to exercise those skills and exercise that part of who she is. So, challenge by choice is something that is used a lot in the kind of youth development and summer camp framework. It's an encouragement to people to get outside their comfort zones. You don't force people to do things they're uncomfortable with, but you help them take that step. You help them ask themselves, okay, last year I was afraid to even get on the climbing wall. This year I'm going to make it a goal just to get both feet off the ground. I don't have to go any higher than that if I don't want to. And it's not that I'm comparing myself to other kids who are running up to the top of the climbing wall like it's no thing. I'm comparing myself to me and to my comfort zone and to what I'm capable of, and I'm getting support from the people around me for doing more than I thought I was capable of, for pushing my boundary a little bit. So that's a really important part of what we do, and it's something that you see kind of throughout our organization, from the youngest camper all the way through to me, to our board chair. And that's a kind of a typical summer camp thing. But there's something we do at Camp Quest that's not a typical summer camp thing. And that is, we talk about stuff that people don't think you should talk about with kids. And we don't just talk about it with the kids, we listen to them talk about it. And that's the thing that's really, really different. Because I don't know about you guys, when I was a kid, I had a lot of opinions about politics, about religion, about how the world worked, and none of the adults had time for that or wanted to listen to that. My parents would listen to it, but you'd be at school, you'd be in other environments where you're with adults, and you'd start telling them something you think, and they're like, oh yeah, that's nice. You're 12, what can you know about the world? It is so cool to see what happens when you don't do that. So I at camp, I run Socrates Cafe, which is a philosophy discussion activity that we do. And what's so cool is, as the facilitator, I just kind of say, okay, here are some ground rules. Everybody here participating, we're all participating as equals. I'm going to keep a list of who wants to talk, so just signal when you want to talk. And we're going to talk about a big question. We're not going to find the answer in an hour. If we're talking about what is knowledge, or what is progress, or what is friendship, we're not going to know the answer in an hour, but we're going to become better questioners together. And the kids and the adults who are participating in that discussion, they are participating as equals. It's not that the adults know the answer to the question of what is friendship, and the kids don't, and the adults are asking questions to try to get the kids to read their mind and say what it is the adult is already thinking the right answer is. It's that we're all coming together with our different life experiences to push ourselves and each other to become better questioners together. And sometimes this means really challenging things happen. A couple years ago at Camp Quest, Kansas City, I let the kids vote on what topics they want to do for Socrates Cafe. And I keep a list of kind of what topics have been suggested, and then the topics will stay on the list from day to day. And so the last day of camp is coming. The previous day, the kids discussed religion. And the second most high vote getting topic was death. And I was like, all right, I know that's what they're going to vote for. They want to talk about death. This, of course, is the day that the reporter from NPR is there, recording Socrates Cafe, interviewing me afterwards. And I'm like, oh, all right, let's do this, So we have this conversation, and kids are talking about things like, we had this girl who's 10, and she was talking about how her grandmother died. And after her grandmother died, she said, I really tried to believe in an afterlife. I really tried to believe in God because I really wanted to see my grandmother again. And it was amazing to hear, a child have a space to express that. And kids were talking about losing pets, they were talking about all sorts of things that happened in their lives that you got the sense that they maybe had not had an opportunity to really talk about before in a safe space. And there was a lot of crying, and it was not just me. There were a lot of other people crying. And after this conversation, the reporter asks me, he says, some people would say that's kind of a heavy topic to be talking about with 10-year-olds. Like maybe that's a little much. And I said, well, you heard them. Would you rather they not have a space to talk about these things that are happening in their lives? And so I think there's something really amazing that we do when we say these difficult topics and these things also that generate awe and wonder at the crazy fact that we're monkeys in shoes running around in the world, existing, that we are, stardust that knows itself, these kinds of things. When you have those conversations, and you have those conversations with kids, and you let them talk, and you listen to them, and you take them seriously, really, really amazing things happen. And I think for a lot of our volunteers, these discussions that they have in Socrates Cafe, that's what hooks them on camp and what makes them come back year after year. Listening to the kids and also having a space to share these things ourselves, because I think even as adults, we often don't get to have those kinds of real conversations with other people. You have a lot of small talk, you talk about a lot of what are we having for dinner tonight? But having a space where you can really dig into what does it mean to be a human being is something that none of us really get enough of. And so I think that's an amazing experience, and I hope that's an experience that you can bring into your activism wherever your activism takes you. Because it's pretty freaking cool that we're conscious beings and that we're here and that we get to do this stuff. So, okay, that's all kind of heavy. You gotta have some fun. You gotta have some fun. If Edwin Kagan was one of the founders of Camp Quest, and he died last year, and I gave a eulogy for him at the American Atheist Convention, where I also cried. And I kind of tried to draw some life lessons from Edwin's life. And one of the things I said was, if you're not having fun doing your activism, you're doing it wrong. Edwin would come out to the campfire dressed in some crazy robe and throw glow sticks out at the children and say, do you believe in magic, children? He was also the National Legal Director for American Atheists, and he did very, very serious work there. But he also did that with kind of a little wink and a smile. You're gonna be doing some tough stuff, but you gotta kind of find a way to find the humor in that. And then you also have to take the time to go canoeing, make some s'mores, do the things that are just because it's fun. It just feels good. It makes you happy. And we talk a lot about secular activism as being about finding the truth. I think finding the truth is important. But I think our secular values have to also enrich our lives and fulfill us and help us find happiness. And some of that doesn't have to be that complicated. Go out on a nice sunny day and lay in the grass. Okay, so that's my take on belonging, growing, and having fun, and why those things are important and everyone should do them. One of the things we try to do at Camp Quest is we try to give kids role models. You'll see a camper here looking at a little card of Benjamin Franklin. That's part of our Famous Freethinkers program, where we do very short 5-minute little presentations about everyone from Daniel Radcliffe to Alice Walker to Elizabeth Cady Stanton to Richard Dawkins, who were skeptical of traditional religious claims and made some impact on the world through science, through government, through the arts, through writing, through acting, through whatever it is. We want kids to know that there are people out there who can be role models for them. There are people out there who are skeptical of religion, who have made some impact on the world. And we also want them to know at the same time that that's not just for other people. Those people are not somehow special, perfect beings set apart from the rest of us. They're us, right? These are things that these kids can become. These are things that we as activists can become, and that we do by going out and doing the work. And going out and playing, having some fun, putting our values into practice in our lives. And so, I wouldn't be doing my job here if I didn't tell you guys, hey, I think a really, really awesome way for you to put these values into practice in your life and to kind of experience this play and this joy is come to camp, volunteer at camp. We have 17 sessions this summer across the United States. We're serving about 1,100 kids. And all of our counselors at camp are volunteers. They come for the week, they act as cabin counselors, they run activities. I think they have almost as much fun as the kids do. I hope that you will check that out and will consider doing that and having that week in your life. And I was at Camp Quest, Oklahoma last month, and we had several new counselors who were like, this is so awesome, how have I not found this before? Are there more camps I can go to later this summer? They signed up and they are at Kansas City right now. So it's something that, kind of, for a lot of people, they do again and again, because it's a valuable community experience that they find fulfilling. But even if you don't come to camp, I hope that whatever you do, you will put these values at play in your life, not just to work, but also find things. Ask yourself, what is it that makes you do this? Why do you get out of bed in the morning and decide, instead of just watching reruns of Firefly, which is super fun, why are you going to do this hard work? You're going to do it because something moves you and inspires you. And if you can figure out what that is and you can do more of that, then you're going to want to keep doing this a lot longer, because it's something that's giving back to you, not just something that you're giving to others. So I hope that you'll do that, and I hope that you'll find ways in your activism, either through Camp Quest or through whatever it is, your student group, whatever it is that makes you passionate, to grow, to find that personal growth, to challenge yourself, to do things you didn't think you could do before, and to have some fun. And thank you. I really appreciate you all being here. I have business cards, so I can give you my card so you can get in touch with me and you can find out about how to get involved in Camp Quest. And I also want to just recommend one book, because I can't resist. Brene Brown's book, Daring Greatly, she talks a lot about what I was talking about earlier on, about belonging, and how meeting that need for belonging is kind of the foundation that lets us push ourselves and grow. And I found what she has to say really, really valuable. So I would highly recommend checking her out. And I really, really appreciate you all being here. Thank you so much for coming.